There it goes.
What's up, everyone? Week 1 of college football has arrived, even though technically, it depends on how you look at it, week 2 or week 0, whatever. The real deal is kicking off, and I got Super Dave, as he calls himself, and JS, the Meister, JT, and Dave. How are you guys doing this evening?
I'm doing all right.
Doing
It's the
great.
weekend. I'm happy about that.
Yeah, game time.
Yes, if you guys don't realize, it's where we previewing the Tulane, Oklahoma game. Of course, that game was moved from New Orleans to Norman due to Hurricane Ida that took place earlier in the week and over last week, I guess, technically, but earlier in the week. So, gentlemen, a lot to get to, but before we preview the Oklahoma Tulane and go on to other games as well, the Big 12 has some news that they're going to be accepting, or at least getting the invites out. The application process started. We could see a thing approved no later than or as early as September 10th. But what's your guys' thoughts on Central Florida, Cincinnati, BYU, and Houston being potentially the 4 new members of the Big 12?
I mean, it's not going to save the Big 12.
Well, no.
Like I just don't know what the difference is between that and the AAC. I just don't. Like, you're taking the best from. Are they AAC or Conference USA?
No, you're right. They're AAC.
Yeah, so I just don't. They're just kind of avoiding, I think, what's obvious, like what's going to be the future. I really do. I think that I don't know what they're planning to do. I mean, maybe the TV markets help them stay afloat a little bit longer, just because without Texas, they're losing Houston market,
Yep.
and then obviously now they're tapping into Florida with UCS. So I don't know. I just don't see it being a long-term solution.
And here we go again. It would have been nice if this would have taken place a few years back. Do I think Oklahoma probably would have left still? Yeah. But I'm with you, JT. Of course, Dave will get your input as well on this. I just don't know if, for example, Oklahoma State. I understand Oklahoma State's not really being highly recruited, so to speak, from the other Power 4 conferences. But let's just say if it doesn't, I don't know if this is a good enough attraction for OSU if they get that invite to, let's say, the Pac-12 eventually wants to quote unquote expand. I don't know if that's enough to keep OSU even in the Big 12.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the Pac-12 is gonna. I think eventually everything's trending towards 16. I mean, they're gonna. I mean, how long do you block off a 12-team playoff?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really don't. I think the benefit for Oklahoma going to the SEC is that playoff system. I think that's the biggest benefit, not only the money, but I mean, what are you going to have 3 teams from the SEC get to the playoff now every year? At 3 out of the 4? I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
And so, do you give other teams a shot, or do you just keep getting the same thing? Because that's what it's going to turn into. And there's just no way about it. And I think they're just kind of crying a little bit about it. Like, and that West Virginia AD, like you might be one AD, but if they want 16 or whatever, if they want 12, like, they're going to get 12 if that's what they want. So I don't see a benefit for Oklahoma outside of the money if they don't expand the playoffs, even to 8. I think would be very healthy, even if it's not 12. But I just hope that it doesn't get in the way of them stopping that expansion, because I think it's important, whether it's 8 or 12.
Dave, what's your thoughts on the 4 Big 12 potential teams: BYU, Houston, Cincinnati, and Central Florida? To me, I'm with JT. To me, it's not really a sexy selection. I mean, yeah, you still get that Texas Houston market, but it's Houston. It's not the whole state. Your thoughts on potential the 4 coming into the Big 12 whenever they decide? I guess 2025. I'm guessing. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I think it's one of those things where they got, now in addition to Texas and Houston and in Florida, you'll have the Ohio market with Cincinnati to compete with Ohio State market, and then you'll of course expand to the Utah market. I mean, you'll get to see some good programs. I mean, look what Iowa State did last year. Matt Campbell's turned that team around from the bottom of the cell to a contender, and you get to see some pretty decent programs. The only thing is, though, does this keep them as a Power Five? I don't think so. I think they'll still be, like we talked about weeks ago. You'll have the Power Four, and then you'll have the mid majors. It doesn't bring them into Power Five. You're not, people think, well, I'm going to UCF or I'm going to Houston. Yeah, it was a big decision. No, it wasn't. It was, there are no, big time recruits never have Houston or UCF or Cincinnati on their final three. It's always either SEC, Big Ten, or ACC, or even Pac-12 at that point.
Here's an interesting topic and a question that may not has nothing to do with it. They still may wait till 2025, so to speak. Any chance that we can get the Big 12 to expand sooner and OU Texas leave sooner out?
Well, like we talked about a few weeks ago, we had talked about the money, $80 million each. Or it could be a rich oil baron in Texas. Okay, here's the money that we're bailing. Or, the Big 12 dissolves and then regroups. What I'm seeing as that, here's what I think might happen. The Big 12 dissolves, then rebrands themselves as, let's say the Central American Conference. And then extend these four teams into their mix. Technically, they dissolve, so Texas can still get out before 2025.
Yeah, I think their best chance was to maintain, or like for their power status, was to merge. Maybe they still dissolve, and maybe they still do that. I guess I feel like they're just clutching right now. They're just kind of grasping for straws. This just doesn't scream long term to me. I mean, even if we're breaking into new TV markets as a conference, there's just so much they're losing from Oklahoma and Texas. And regardless of how great Iowa State's been, because they have been great, it's just they turned it on like the last couple years, and they've just had outside of those last couple years. I mean, it's just been Oklahoma and Texas for so long. Oklahoma, it hasn't been Texas for quite some time, but I mean, at a certain point, I think they're just grasping for straws at this point, and I don't know what it's going to look like, but I just feel like this is like a stopgap, and I just don't see a solution outside of dissolving, like Dave's saying, and just rebranding themselves and merging. They need to merge with the American is what they need to do. Maybe they don't, and maybe they die. And, because that could be Bob Bowlesby. I mean, that's just being like, hey, I made the move too late. I'm trying to save face, and then just falls on his face instead. And they end up merging anyway.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because that's a good topic. You look at Bob Bowlesby, really hasn't done much in the Big 12, in my opinion. I think he had a lot of opportunities. I know way back when the expansion started, when Nebraska and all them left, Louisville was mentioned down the road. How much that is true, I don't know if they would have still bulged from the ACC.
Imagine Oklahoma playing some of those UTS teams. If they would have just got off their rear end and expanded it when they were supposed to, and I mean, I'm not saying that saves the Big 12 now, and OU and Texas don't leave to the SEC because I don't think that saves it, but imagine some of those games. I mean, I don't know. But he didn't do it, though.
Well, it's a good point. I mean, we obviously don't know, and I don't know if it would have saved, like you said, I don't know if it would have saved the Big 12 or not. Probably not. I mean, the SEC is obviously the moneymaker, the best conference in football, as much as we hate to, say that. But exactly. Yeah. Nonetheless, I mean, it might have kept it a little bit longer. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, obviously that's proof in the pudding. We don't know. Central Florida. Can you imagine that Central Florida team? What was it, 2017? I
Yeah,
think
the team that beat
that. Yeah,
in the Sugar Bowl, right? Beat Auburn, I think,
Auburn.
or in the Fiesta Bowl or something like that. I can't remember. Sugar Bowl.
That 17 team with OU and Central Florida could have been a doozy.
Yeah, that would have been a fun one. I mean, some of those Houston teams were good too. Remember Tom Herman before he went to Texas?
Yep.
So.
Yep. Now Derek King is at Miami, and they're getting ready to play Alabama on the season opener. That's going to be a interesting matchup.
And you got Tulsa losing to UC Davis. So that's great.
Did anybody watch that? I watched it on. Well, I have Hulu, so Hulu you got ESPN Plus and all this. So I just kind of flipping channels and I watched UC Davis. How disappointing for Tulsa. I mean,
gross.
But I didn't. Well, first of all, I didn't know Dan Hawkins was the head coach at UC Davis. I thought that was interesting. I don't know how much of the games of the broadcast, if you watched it, or even all the listeners out there. The commentators in itself acted like Tulsa was like this motherload ship that they upset it because it's like, oh, UC Davis just up. I mean, the way they broke it down, like we are talking Tulsa here. We're not talking Texas or Oklahoma. We're talking Tulsa. No disrespect to Tulsa, but it's a disappointing loss to them nonetheless, especially. I mean, it's an FCS school, but
yeah, it is what it is.
Speaking of the Big 12, we'll talk Kansas real quick. And I know I was on the Interceptor Lunch podcast previewing Big 12 on, I think, Monday. We had some comments go through. I was kind of talking to someone yesterday on it. Kansas. I don't know if you guys saw this or not. I mean, I'm kind of scrolling through real briefly. Did you know when they play tonight, South Dakota, Kansas? I think they're about to kick off if they haven't already. Nonetheless, did you guys know that Kansas is the underdog against South Dakota?
I mean, how awful do you have to be for Vegas to put you as the underdog to a team that, like, who are they playing again? South Dakota.
South Dakota.
I think I want to say. Let me pull it up.
Oklahoma played them a couple years ago. It was 70 to something. We put 70 on.
The first look at Spencer Rattler late in that game.
Yep. Yeah, our fourth stringers put up 14 or 21 points. Kansas is just sad, and you wonder why, like, Oklahoma's leaving.
Well, and that brings up the point, and I know some people were upset and pissed off. Like they really don't understand why OU and Texas is leaving. Well, I do. I mean, I want to play. I'd rather play a pissy Vanderbilt team than Kansas.
Yeah.
Let me see here. The latest spread. Real quick, and I shouldn't.
It's underway, is what it is. They're playing tonight.
Yeah, so South Dakota in the game's a 5-point. Depends on who you go with. Is a 5-point favorite over Kansas.
Yeah.
Depends on who.
Wild.
And I'm sure.
Kansas up. Yeah, they opened at the game opened at 13.5.
Gee, Christmas.
Yeah, it's halfway through the first quarter. The game's scoreless, so
should be a good one.
I mean, there's college football, and then there's Kansas. So.
Yeah. You can watch Sam Howell get beat up by Virginia Tech instead.
Well, and that's man. Go ahead, David. We'll talk that real quick.
Yeah, I did that article on Monday about that school in Ohio, Bishop Sycamore.
Okay, so I completely missed out. So what in the world is going on with this Bishop Sycamore thing?
Okay, I'm trying to tell you as much as I can without taking too much time on this podcast. But here's what happened. Their online charter school, kind of like Epic.
Mm-hmm.
And they field athletic teams supposedly, well, they're not registered with the Ohio State Athletic Administration. So they tell ESPN has a contract with a third-party organizer that they take games that say like IMG Academy, national ranked schools that played other high schools across the nation rather than their own school because they'll beat up on everybody in the state. That good.
Right.
So they play. The IMG Academy calls them and says, "We need opponents." ESPN has this company put out feelers. Bishop Sycamore puts out, says, "Hey, we've got a few Division I prospects. We think will be a good matchup." They said, "Well, hey, we might be competitive." It was 3-0 in the first quarter. I think it was like 56-0 was the final score. After the game's over, everybody's piling stats and something's not adding up. So they did some more research. They had the kids, the kids, and I use that air quotes because they weren't really kids. They were junior college dropouts that were playing for Bishop Sycamore. Like 25-year-old men were playing against high school kids.
I'm not sure what's worse because they got beat 58-0 by high school kids. Like, I don't know what's worse.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, the head coach, who's now been fired for obvious reasons,
Well,
had
no crap.
had an active arrest warrant at kickoff.
For what?
I have no idea. I have no idea. All it said was that there was an active arrest warrant out for him. And they've been looking for him, and he pops up on national TV, so then they didn't have trouble tracking him down.
It's one of the greatest stories I've ever read. Like, the fact that you duped ESPN, like, you should have seen the list that they gave them for, like, their athletes. Like, I think they had, the quarterback had an active offer. He did. He had an active offer from Nevada. So, that's it. So, and I just, it's the greatest dupe in history.
Yeah, but Bishop Sycamore could beat Kansas. I can tell you that much.
It'd be a good game.
Oh, God.
It's a wonderful.
Why can't the Big 12 go after Bishop Sycamore?
Yeah, no kidding.
Might as well.
I mean, well, first of all, shout out to Nevada. If you guys are interested in this kid, I would definitely reconsider. I don't know what his stats was, but nonetheless, well, Jesus God. Wow. In other news, no. Who's your guys?
And one more thing here about this thing. So after the game on ESPN, after this whole debacle, all the opponents at Bishop Sycamore scheduled to play just canceled their games.
Yeah,
I don't blame them.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't blame them one bit. So real quick, previewing. I don't even know what to say after that. Previewing the Big 12, obviously Kansas, South Dakota is kicking off. If you're listening right now, during the live stream, obviously they're kicked off, and of course we won't preview too much because apparently Kansas is favored by or down the underdog by 11. Stanford, Kansas State. Real quick, what's your guys' thoughts on this? I think it's a pretty decent, interesting game. Stanford, I think it's at neutral site or is it actually in Manhattan?
I'm not sure.
I think it's the Cowboy Classic at AT&T State.
Oh, cool.
Sweet.
It's 11 a.m. on FS1, so we're going to just keep an eye on that one as we're watching the Sooner game. And opened at 3. Stanford's got a 3-point favorite right now.
Yeah, it's interesting how Stanford really kind of not fell off, but I guess, but they kind of have. I mean, they had Andrew Luck, and then they had CMC, right?
Yep.
And I mean, even at CMC, they only won like 8 or 9 games. I don't know. I think Kansas State goes as far as Skylar Thompson takes them. And I mean, Kleiman? I mean, he's obviously a really good coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think there's certain ceilings you can hit at Kansas State. I don't know. You can't really do that Bill Snyder model. I mean, because everyone's doing it. That's not Oklahoma. That's not, getting kids in droves. Everyone's hitting the JC portal. It's not something new. Or, and then with the portal now. I don't know. I mean, I think I like Kansas State. I think I mean the points are good. I just don't know anything about Stanford. I mean, I'm sure they're probably going to be disciplined. I mean, they're well coached. David Shaw's a good coach, and so is Kansas State. But they're a West Coast team. I like the location for Kansas State, Big 12 territory. So, I mean, I don't know. I think Kansas State probably wins that game. Depends on who's more disciplined.
I'm with JT. I don't know much about Stanford. Obviously disciplined. Coach Davis, obviously, he's not gonna have allow a sloppy game. I mean, I guess it's always the first time for everything.
Yeah.
With the fact that Stanford's got to go halfway through the country practically to get to where they want to play. Kansas State always has that. It seems here lately that Kansas State's always that thorn in someone's side, aka OU.
Oklahoma.
Unfortunately, I could see something where Kansas State does another thing to a Stanford. Now my only concern with Kansas State is, and obviously I don't know much about Stanford this year right now, but Skylar Thompson, one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12, of course, but is the fact that if Stanford comes out, if they can stay within scoring distance in the first half and go into the locker room and still be in this game, I might be a little concerned if I'm Kansas State, but I don't know what Kansas State has back and what Stanford has back, but I'm going to go with Kansas State. I think they're a little. I think at least I don't know. Like I said, I don't know much about Stanford. I don't know if the quarterback's coming back or not. But
I forgot about Deuce Vaughn too.
I think
Deuce Vaughn for Kansas State. Forgot about him.
Real quick, a game I think is besides Oklahoma the interesting one. West Virginia, Maryland. We all know Maryland likes to beat Big 12 teams. Texas, of course, for example. But any chance that West Virginia gets put on upset alert here in Maryland?
I don't think so.
No, I think West Virginia is a little too good for even Maryland.
And of course, last but not least, before we go OU Tulane, I gotta throw it in there because they're the 23rd ranked team in the country, and Texas, they're in the 21st ranked team in the country.
They're back.
Anyone want to give Texas a win, or should we be a little concerned? Because they are back.
I just don't think we know enough. I really don't. I just don't know enough yet. I know the talent's there, but talent's always been there.
Mm-hmm.
But Louisiana, I mean, they're highly ranked for a reason. Well, not like in the top 25. I mean, they've got one of the best head coaches out there. I just think that Texas better be careful because I think Louisiana could beat them easily.
Of course, wasn't Lafayette the team that beat Iowa State last year?
I believe so.
I'm not going to sit there and say that they're going to do the same to Texas, but
Billy Napier is a great coach.
Yes,
he was courted by a lot of teams.
Yeah, I don't know much about either end, or I'm a little surprised that one kid from Texas didn't get the starting job. I don't know much about either end, but it'd be hilarious to see Texas lose just because, of course, they're beating the SEC. So I'm just going to go with that.
Yeah.
But puts us, at least for this, and then we'll all give our upsets this week. But Oklahoma, Tulane, of course, this game, OU favored by 31. It's now on ESPN. I think it's still on ABC, but maybe they moved it now. But nonetheless, Oklahoma, Tulane, the game got canceled due to the fact that Hurricane Ida. Of course, I'm just going to be honest before we preview it and talk more and digest more into it. I don't care if it would have been in New Orleans. I don't see much of an issue for Oklahoma unless they just bottom falls out, injuries happen, or something. I don't know. But your guys' thoughts on the early thoughts before we digest into this game, Oklahoma, Tulane.
I think Oklahoma walks away with it. It's OU puts up 40 points by halftime. That's my go.
Yeah, I think you're probably not too far off. I'm gonna go like 31-28. Just like I still don't think Tulane scores. I really think this is the best defense Oklahoma's had in 10 plus years. Like I seriously don't think Tulane crosses the 50 in the first half. And if they do, they're gonna be pissed about it. Like Oklahoma's gonna be pissed if they cross 50, and they should be. Like I think that's a mentality they should have, and I think that's where they're going. I mean, I don't want to block Perry on Winfrey. But
no.
yeah, and I don't think any of them want the smoke either. But yeah, I think it's just the offense. There's a lot of new faces receiver wise. We'll see how well Spencer's built up the rapport with the other guys. You know, obviously with Theo going out, you know, we'll just see how camp's gone for them. Like how chemistry. You know, our offense at times last year would obviously kind of mug up when it shouldn't have. So I'm just thinking like maybe it's 31-0. I don't know if we quite get the 40-point threshold, just because I'm not saying we're not gonna. Our skill players are. It's like Ohio State last night, you know. Like it took them a minute to get out of neutral on offense, and it was raining last night too. I think it had something to do with it. Like Stroud was trying to get settled in, and I think I'm not that I don't think we still rip their head off, because I think that's how it goes. But I do think it might be a little sluggish in the first half, and then they tune it up and take it off in the second. But
I'm actually looking forward to when offensive wise, of course, Spencer Rattler, of course, you wouldn't want to look forward towards him. But I'm actually really looking towards Eric Gray and, of course, Kennedy Brooks. You know, we lost quite a bit of depth on the running back core. I can't think of the kid's name.
Bradford?
Yes, that was messed up. I really would like to know. And I do believe Lincoln Riley when he said that we honestly had no idea. We wasn't expecting this. Of course, he just up and left, grabbed his bags, and I don't know. Did he go back to LSU, or we don't know for sure?
I don't think it's been formally announced, but I think it's implied. So.
And then, of course, Marcus Major, due to academics, he's out. I don't know if it's for how long, but do we see the meteorologist Major in there, or is that him?
I
know there's a meteorologist Major, but I don't know his.
I think it's Hudson. I don't know if it's Hudson or no. I think it's Hudson. I think it's Jordan Hudson. But I think we see Hall before we see Hudson.
Yeah, Jeremiah Hall and Kennedy Brooks or Kennedy Brooks and Jeremiah Hall are 1-2 on the depth chart.
Do we think we'll see Eric Gray in there?
More likely.
Yeah, but I think they'll be on pitch count.
Yeah, probably late in the game with Caleb Williams running the second or third string. Just to give him they're not going to throw him out there in the first game of the season and let him understand, how game flow works, and playing at Memorial Stadium. Don't just throw him out there because, it's not smart to do that.
Yeah, I think they're gonna give us a sneak preview on how he's gonna use Raleek Brown, because I think he's gonna use Eric Gray in the passing game. I really think that's where he's gonna shine, and I also think that's gonna allow him to not maybe be at risk to be hurt. Maybe they won't run Eric in between the tackles as much. I think he's way more explosive in the passing game. I mean, if you watch him at Tennessee, he was really good in the passing game, and I think that's what they're gonna do with Raleek Brown when he comes next year. But I think you're right though. I think it'll be Brooks, Hall, toting the rock. I think Gray will get touches, but he's also going to be more in the receiving game, because I really think Riley's got to be careful on how he manages the running backs. Obviously with the depth thing, he's just got to be careful. So,
just touch back on the Ohio State Minnesota game last night. Did you see that guy? I think it was like Follow Lee or something like that. The offensive lineman from Minnesota. See how big he was?
Yeah, he's massive.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys are all corn-fed. Those guys are all corn-fed monsters. That Ibrahim guy.
He's one of the biggest offensive linemen I've seen in a long time.
I feel bad for that Ibrahim guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel bad for that Ibrahim guy. Like, seriously, like popping an Achilles like that, because that guy was running all over Ohio State. I feel bad. I mean, they were really putting a number on them. And I think if we hadn't lost Ibrahim, I think maybe they would have kept it close, maybe a little bit longer. But
I think, that Ohio State game, I was actually into it. And, of course, I'll blame you, Dave, because apparently you told me that you went to bed and Minnesota's winning. So, if you would have stood up just an extra hour and a half or two, Minnesota might have pulled this one off.
Yeah, that would have been able to make it to work today. So,
right. Now going back to OU Tulane real quick, I don't see Tulane being in this thing at all. Besides it's being 0-0. Obviously, I think we will see Caleb Williams in there, which I'm actually pretty excited to see.
Yeah, he looked great in the spring game.
Yes,
I know spring game, but he did. He looked poised. He looked calm. He didn't look like anything was really pulling him or anything like that. And he's got some wheels too.
He's a fast kid. And obviously, I think the receiving core is going to be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So, which leads us to this: what you guys' final score predictions?
I think OU's 56-21.
I think I'm more in the ballpark of like 62-13.
See, that's what I was kind of leaning towards.
I'm not sure they score a touchdown, more than one, maybe a touchdown and a couple of field goals. That's about where I'm at.
I'll go 59-10. I just don't see Tulane giving much of a fight, especially against that defense. I think they're going to have a rough time moving that ball because that defense is really athletic and probably one of the best in quite some time, if ever. So, especially athleticism's there. Offensive wise, I think Spencer Rattler's fine. The offensive line is, I think, the only biggest key just because it's somewhat freshly made, new. But no, I think OU take care of business, and I think they can, of course, go to Western Carolina, but host Western Carolina next week. And well, I'm just gonna be honest with you, that's
it's a W.
That's not even gonna be.
They're not going to be challenged until they go on the road to Manhattan. That's one hell of a first road game.
It's
going to be one hell of a first road game.
Well, technically, the first road game is the away team to the Red River rivalry this year. Texas is the home team this year.
Yeah, so, well, I think.
But that's a technicality. But yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, that's a true road game, though. I mean, you're up there.
Look what happened last year.
Right, and they got to be pissed. I hope they go in that game like ready to rip their heads off because they need
better
to.
Because they
need to. They're 10 times better than Kansas State. They just gotta. We were on their way to winning last year. I mean, it was just we were a quarter away, and so I can't even explain what happened last year. Like I watched the game and I walked away from it like I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. It took me back to 2014 when. And I was with Colorado with my mom, and I turned on to check my phone. They were up by 3 touchdowns with like 6 minutes left. I thought, yeah, it's a W. And then I check it again, and it's OSU pulls off the upset. I'm like, well, what happened? I mean, because I was on my way to back in Louisiana. I think it was they lose to Kansas State first or Iowa State first. I don't know back.
Kansas State was first because
so I was on my way to Louisiana to help out with the hurricane. Or not, Alabama, and I checked it. We got there, fourth quarter, and it was like, okay, I got this one in the bag. I checked it again, and it was close. And like, here we go. And I just feel something way.
No, unfortunately, it was Kansas State and then Iowa State.
Yeah.
Bastards.
Yeah.
Can't stand them.
Well, we haven't beaten Kansas State in 3 years now because they beat us in 2019. Right. So we've got big chip on our shoulder.
Well, and the talent gap's just so huge. There's just no reason.
No.
Well, and they're going to raise hell up in Manhattan just due to the fact that now with the announcement of Oklahoma going to the SEC, man, these road games are going to be brutal.
Yes, they are.
Great.
Oh, I'm gonna love it. Too bad Manhattan. I'm sure I don't know what of course, Kansas. Speaking of Kansas State, and I know we probably mentioned it before. Forget the Big 12 expansion. down the road, any chance of them going anywhere besides the merge or potential whatever may happen with the Big 12, or they just kind of stuck where they're at?
I just think they're kind of stuck.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I don't know. I think that who's the race the first 16 teams? I don't know. Are like not the first, but the second because the SEC. But I don't really know. I don't really know where anyone goes. The Pac-12 doesn't want to expand, and so what is everyone going to do? Just sit on their hands and watch 3 SEC teams make it? That's what's going to happen. They're going to sit on their hands and cry, and then it's going to be Oklahoma, Alabama, and a third SEC team, and then Clemson or Notre Dame or somebody, and they're going to be like, wah, wah, wah. The SEC's in it. And they're like, well, if you would have expanded, you'd have more teams. But it's just, I think they're putting themselves in the situation where it's going to be what it is.
Well, I think what's setting up, assuming that this takes place in the Big 12 like they are saying that it is, I think it's going to build up to where I think they're going to take care of business. And I think the AAC and JT, I believe that you're the one that said that. I think they are going to merge. I just taking the AAC's top 2 probably teams in the conference, or 3, I guess, because Houston.
Yeah, they're taking them all.
Yeah, and so why not just merge? I get Tulsa lost to UC Davis, but my God, you got Kansas that's a practically 2-touchdown underdog to South Dakota.
Right. Makes a lot of sense. I mean, their basketball programs are great.
Mm-hmm.
Houston made the Final Four. So, I mean, just in a other sport perspective, like, why not just merge them all?
Well, UCF had Taco Fall, that 6'7" giant.
They had a nice run.
They had a nice run, and I watched that game a few years ago against Duke, and it was like, that they knew that if they could get Fall into foul trouble or foul out of the game, that was it, and that's exactly what they did. I mean, it was like I was watching a game, and he got called for a fifth foul, rather, and he had a look on his face like they went to the season, and he was able to cinch it up, but. It's and that's what I want these listeners who may listen to this down the road and further, weeks, years down the road, coming down, listen to 2025, want to know what was predicted, years ago when it first came out. It's not just about football. It's about everything in there at the schools. Every athletic program is going to be, conference realignment. So it's not just all about football. Football is king, absolutely. But there are some decent programs out there in other sports. Here's an interesting factor for you, Michael. OU and OSU have a pretty good wrestling rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
The SEC does not do wrestling.
Nope.
I didn't know that.
So what happens to the program when they move to the SEC? Does it go defunct? Or do they become independent?
I guess really depends on what the Big 12 does. If they actually stick around or not. But if that, dang, that sucks. Because I know we have some rinky-dink programs that's in that wrestling thing. So, I don't know how that would happen.
No. Well, Baker said it famously 3 years ago. He turned around to the Kansas players and y'all just stick to basketball.
I miss Baker.
I do. He's on my fantasy team. I'm hoping he has a breakout year.
Oh, I think he will. I think he will. No, I don't know what would happen because, again, I don't know what happened with that because will the Big 12 be so butthurt that OU left that they practically would say, you're not coming back to our wrestling conference? I mean, I don't know if that's possible or not, but
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. And I guess they could easily go independent, which, whatever. But, that's a good question. I think that's a lot of people, I think, when I was listening in when they made that announcement. I guess the biggest thing was there a wrestling thing? What's going to happen to it? Because, All I know is this: if you're listening out there, of course, we'll talk more way down the road when it does take place, whether it is next year or
Hey,
23.
hey, something just popped into my head. You know what the name, image, and likeness? Maybe the SEC could start by doing semi-pro wrestling.
They're getting to the point. I think they can be their own league.
Yeah, half WWE, half amateur wrestling.
Mm. I know one thing though: the baseball team really got to get going for OU.
Yeah, they did.
We're gonna get smoked in the SEC. But I mean, I get it; it's a few years down the road, but still, or maybe potentially.
Yeah.
But
You mentioned, Mike, about who other games to watch this weekend. I'm looking at that LSU UCLA matchup. Is it UCLA at the Rose Bowl?
Yeah.
That's going to be a good matchup. I mean, you talk about Death Valley and how hard it is to play there, and at Baton Rouge, and then you go to the Rose Bowl and its storied program, and then California is they're going to still allow full capacity, vaccines and all that good stuff, but it's going to last year they didn't have any fans, and this year they're going to have almost a full house, so it's going to be interesting.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was about to say, is UCLA going to have fans this week? Because my God, there's like hardly anybody at the game last week against Hawaii.
Yeah,
that was.
They just don't. I don't know. They just don't care about football, but down on the West Coast anymore. I don't know what it is, but I think it's probably with the Rams. The Chargers. Not saying that that's the end all be all, but I mean, what would look at what Pete Carroll did whenever SC was good. His face was in the media. His face was everywhere in LA. You have to put yourself out there in LA, and if you do that, you can. I think people will appreciate that out there on the West Coast. They want you to represent them out there, and I just don't feel like Chip Kelly's not that kind of guy that's going out there and putting his face in the media trying to get Snoop Dogg out to practice, or especially with NIL. I think you can really mix it up now. I don't think it's really one of those things where, it's really a big deal. Just go get yourself out there. Go put USC out there. Go get a young guy. I know, what is it, Helton? You go get a guy like, what is the OC out there? He was quarterback at Texas Tech. I can't remember what the OC's name at USC is. Graham Harrell, yeah. Put that guy in charge. And put a young guy like that in charge and put him out there. And just, I don't know, like a Cliff Kingsbury. The dude, and he's not a great coach. I really don't think he's a great coach. I still don't. I don't know how he got in the Cardinals job, but he's still remarkable. But you put yourself out there. I just don't think that I think they're going out the wrong way. And I think everybody's leaving California in droves. They're going to go play at Clemson. They're going to go play at Oklahoma.
They are. I was about to mention that, JT. If you look at the active rosters for USC, UCLA, Cal, there's a big school in San Fran in the Bay Area. I can't remember who they are. Stanford is out there. If you look at all those schools, most of their players are from out of state. Like the high school kids, the 5-star athletes in California, as soon as they get offered from out of state, boom, they're gone.
They're gone. Yeah.
So, I mean, that should be a red flag. Is the way. I mean, I'm not going to mention politics on the show. We don't talk it on this show, but it raises a flag about the way California is being run. If these fantastic athletes, you look at, you walk through the hall, the walkway tunnels of the Rose Bowl. You've got UCLA on one side, their accomplishments. You got USC's on the other side. None of them are recent because all these athletes that can take USC, take UCLA, Stanford, and all these other teams to the prominent, college football playoff, and they're bailing. They're hot footing it out of there as soon as they get their diplomas, they're out.
Well, I think that should answer something. I think that the commodity is not. I think the brand's not out there anymore. The USC's and the UCLA's and like it used to be when it was Matt Leinart, Reggie
that,
Bush, Lyndon White. The
it's
list
like
goes on and
that.
on.
It's like that pristine classic car you see sitting on a lot and no one wants to buy it, and it just loses its luster. The weather, the elements get to it, and then the guy's like, well, it's not going to sell, so why polish it? And it just gets patina and, rust on it, and then it's just like, becomes an eyesore at some point. I got a question for you both here right quick. I'm going to go with Michael's answer first and JT. So, this is a hypothetical matchup I saw on Twitter a while back. 2000 OU team with Josh Heupel, Roy Williams, Bob Stoops, second year of the year, they beat Florida State in the Orange Bowl. Versus 2005 Texas with Vince Young. Who wins?
Oh my God. Oh God. I liked OU's team because really you just had a bunch of players that played. Texas, you look at it and you have players that were talented. I mean, Vince Young, which I knew he wouldn't do well in the NFL, but okay. So from a fan standpoint, OU. I don't know. Does Texas win that thing though? As much as I hate saying that.
I mean, you saw what they did to USC.
That defense, though,
offense with Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush.
But that defense with Torrance Marshall and Rocky Kalmus and Roy Williams, they were good though.
Yeah. I mean, they took Chris Winkie and the Florida State offense and shut them out. I mean, the only place they scored was on a special teams gap.
Mm-hmm.
So they pitched a shutout in that game.
I go OU just because of the fact that they just had a bunch of players that played well under Stoops. I mean, that was the thing.
Yeah.
But man, that's a tough one.
Man, I would. So it's Heupel's team versus the Texas team. Is that what the question is? Yeah.
Vince Young, to be specific.
Vince Young, yeah. I want to say, I really want to say like, man, it's hard. They played two different styles of ball though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
think about how offenses have been revolutionary. Like Winkie and that Florida State offense was like setting the world on fire in '99, and this offense was setting the world on fire in '05. So yes, I think Oklahoma defense would keep it interesting, but Texas defense was no slouch that year.
No, they were good,
and I mean Florida State wasn't either, and took for granted. I mean Oklahoma won, scoring one touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that's all we had to score. So it'd be a lot low scoring than that USC game was. You got Vince Young and you got Josh Heupel. I don't know. I mean Vince Young can make plays with his feet. I want to say like OU, but I think just realistically, I think Texas wins. But my fan wants to say OU, but
yeah, I thought that was too. And when I started looking at that, Chris Winkie was a pocket passer. And that was all about the dual threat quarterback who can run and pass.
Right.
So I think Texas wins probably a repeat of that Rose Bowl game. Which is a shootout, and OU Texas just pulls it out in the end because they got Vince Young and. Josh Heupel wasn't a dual threat quarterback; he was a pocket passer.
Right.
And that defense, and as much as Rocky Kalmus, Roy Williams, and I think Teddy Lehman was out there too. He's the analyst for the radio network now.
Right.
Those guys, they're going to get gassed by Vince Young. You look at what happened with the Army game a few years ago. It was just methodical, gas them out, and then. Just 4 or 5 yards at a time, 6 yards, and just wear out the defense. And then once the defense gas, just do your magic. So I say Vince Young would win. As much as I agree with JT, I love to say OU, but realistically, Texas will probably win that matchup.
Speaking of matchups, and here's one: Georgia Clemson. Of course, Georgia. Really, since Kirby Smart took over as head coach, has now been at least almost consistent on the doorstep of a national championship. Any chance, and I know a lot of people are riding high on Georgia this year. Of course, Alabama, they don't always, rebuild. They just reload. And Bryce Young being the quarterback this year, leading the way. Of course, some people have that upset alert against Miami. I don't really see it, but we'll see. Any chance Georgia could, even though it's a top 5 matchup, any chance Georgia can get that win against Clemson tomorrow night?
I think there's a chance, but we'll have to see at the first quarter because for the first time, I think it's 4 years, you're not going to have Trevor Lawrence. He's gone. He's in Jacksonville, about to get his ass kicked by some NFL linebackers because Jacksonville's O-line's trash. And like I said last week, I think by week 11 he's going to be on the injury list with an ACL because he's not going to be able to run those. Look what happened to Joe Burrow last year. And Jacksonville's O-line is worse than Bengals was last year. But that's another topic for another podcast. But I'm gonna have to see how DJ Uiagalelei, that's how you say it, Uiagalelei, does in the first quarter. That's gonna set the tone. And if he can, manage his offense, Clemson's defense is pretty good this year.
Mm-hmm.
And if he can manage the offense and let the defense do their thing, and he can keep Georgia's defense out there, and like I said, gas them, it's all Clemson.
Well, I know it hurts Georgia. Of course, they're without some of their playmakers. I know their top receiver, George Pickens, he's out indefinitely. Their best tight end, I think, is questionable. I guess he has some
Tariq Gilbert,
something like that.
I just don't.
Another one that won't be there. I mean, they got some weapons that's gone. JT Daniels though can throw. I like Georgia's defense, but just like goes back to Mark Richt. And I like Mark Richt at Georgia when he was head coach there. Is always these big games they have issues with. But I don't know.
I love Clemson. I love Clemson's offense. I love that kid, that DJ Uiagalelei kid. I'm probably pronounced his name wrong, but it's a hard name. But I love him. I mean, the guy's got a cannon.
Yep.
He looked great whenever Lawrence was out last year. He did. He looked really good. I mean, he threw for 400 yards in both games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the guy, and it was a Notre Dame team that made the playoff. So, I mean, for whatever that's worth, they were the team that just got exported. The 4th seed is the team that just gets crucified every year. But
the reason why they were in the playoffs is you had an extra loss.
I know. And honestly, Oklahoma was pretty hot. I think it would have been a hell of a lot better game.
Yep.
But anyways, I think Clemson beats Georgia. I really do. I like JT Daniels. I just don't think he's that guy. I mean, unless Monken has made a ton of progress, I just don't know. I mean, we'll see though. Like the first quarter, like Dave said, we'll see how that first quarter looks. We'll see how they look and who can adjust better. I think Kirby Smart's like a budget Mark Richt. Because Mark Richt didn't even get a chance to coach in the playoff era, I don't think. So how many times Georgia makes the playoffs when Mark Richt is there if the playoff system's in place? Maybe 1 or 2 times. Probably as much as Kirby. So we'll see. I like Clemson a lot, though. I really do.
Your guys' thoughts on Miami, Alabama? Of course, Miami coming off a year that was 8-3. They played in the ACC championship game against Clemson. Of course, lost to OSU, which whatever in the bowl game. For whatever that's worth, not much. But of course, then you have Alabama. They lose Steve Sarkisian, who's now the head coach at Texas. Of course, then you lose a bunch of talented players that went in the NFL draft. Mac Jones, Devontae Smith, PS2 in Denver, Patrick Surtain the second, Alex Leatherwood, offensive lineman. I mean, the list goes literally on and on and on. Any chance Miami could? I mean, I know the point spread's high. I think it's 20 for Alabama, but any chance that we could see maybe an upset? Or is Miami's about to get a rude awakening here?
I think it's a game that's even first half, kind of like Ohio State, Minnesota was. Mm-hmm. And I think the talent that Alabama's got takes off in the second. I just don't think Miami's still got those guys yet to compete like the Clemsons and Alabamas of the world. I mean, Alabama's deep. I mean, they're so deep. So I just don't see it. I don't see it. I don't think it's close, but I think it's close at halftime. It's Bryce Young getting used to it. It's a whole new offense. It's just we'll see. And I think Derek King's comfortable, so I think Miami will challenge him, but I just I don't think it's close at the end.
Yeah, I think Alabama, as much as they've got, well, I wouldn't say untested quarterback. We all know that Nick Saban works his quarterbacks even when they're not on the field seeing game action. So he's just ready to take it and take them over. They've got the loaded up offense is ready to go, and I don't think Miami's defense is going to be able to keep up with Alabama.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a heck of a game. Alabama's just too deep, way too deep, and the talent, of course, is obviously there. But boy, what talk about a way to start off the college football season? You have a top 5 matchup in regards to Clemson, Georgia. You got Alabama that some say could lose. I don't really see it. Hey, it's the best way to start off week 1. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, this is a pretty good week 1. Everybody knows that week 1, you play, cupcake teams get tune-up games. We've got some pretty decent matchups for week 1.
Yeah. We've got great matchups. Like, it's a good, solid day where you can just sit at home and watch football all day, and you're not going to have a bad game. Seriously.
Yeah. And, of course, one that's, if you guys are watching on live stream, obviously tune in. If you're going to listen down the road, needless to say, it's going to be a pre-recorded at this rate. But North Carolina's down by a touchdown, 1:13 left. They're on Virginia Tech's 40-yard line. It's 2nd and 7.
Well, there you go. Another.
It is right now 17-10.
Okay.
A lot of people had North Carolina making the playoff. I think. Obviously it's early in the year, but you can't have some bad losses here. Even that fan base that was rocking.
Yep. It's halfway through the second quarter, and Kansas and North Dakota are still scoreless.
Oh Jesus! There you go, Big 12. There you go.
Maybe that should, maybe should be a selling point to the Houston, Utah, BYU, Cincinnati, and UCF. Hey, you guys want an easy team to play every year to get your kinks out? Here's Kansas.
Yeah.
Well,
you guys want an actual game where you can just mess around and still lose or still win, I should say. Yeah, play Kansas every year.
A buddy of mine, he's a diehard Kansas fan, and I hate saying this, but if this game, and obviously the podcast will be over by the time that game's over, but if that game takes place and Kansas loses, the Big 12 really seriously needed to convince or consider something about Kansas football program, or in Kansas in general, because didn't they lose to an FCS school either last year or the year prior to?
Yeah, I think it was last year of all things.
Jesus.
Let me look it up right quick. Good.
While you look that up real quick, Penn State, Wisconsin, of course, another huge Big Ten matchup. At the same time that's going on, and Oklahoma Tulane going on. Of course, we all know Big Ten, they ground and pound football. Wisconsin's known for their big old boys up on the offensive line, just like Minnesota. I like Wisconsin. I think this team could be a team that could upset or could potentially beat Ohio State down the road. But I like this matchup as well.
Yeah, I don't not that I'm not a big fan of ground and pound football. You see Wisconsin, and anytime they've really gone up against any kind of speed or a team like Ohio State, because I think it's an interesting counterpoint, because the Colts beat the Chiefs a couple years ago in pro football, just running the ball game, like kept Mahomes off the field. I think if Wisconsin can execute those things and keep these explosive offenses off the field, I think Wisconsin probably beat Penn State. I don't know much about Penn State. They haven't done much since Saquon was there. I don't know much about them, but I know Wisconsin's going to run the ball a ton, and I don't know. I like Wisconsin. I think they're tough. I think they're always tough to play. The Big Ten, really, to me, is kind of up in the air outside Ohio State. 'Cause you kind of have Ohio State, and everyone's like, okay, Ohio State. But, it's going to be a good game. I just I don't want to fall asleep. Like, it's hard for me to watch Big Ten football. I'm kind of glad I don't live in Big Ten country because it's some boring football.
It's boring. And real quick, Virginia Tech has just upset North Carolina. They intercepted.
Nice.
There you go.
Sam Howell, you're a Heisman runner-up.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Howell.
Leave it to Matt Brown.
They lost last year. They actually beat Rhode Island in the season opener. No, I think. Wait a minute. Let me look this up. Having some problems here. I want to make sure I got the right season here because it says. Yeah, it doesn't sound right. I think I'm on the wrong season. I'll have to check that. Y'all keep yapping while I look this up because this is a little bit longer than I thought it was. Okay, here we go. Yeah, they lost to. They lost their only non-conference game against Coastal Carolina last year. Because if you remember, the Big 12 had one non-conference game, then like 8 or 9 conference games. They played everybody like they normally do, and they went 0-9 last year, so they didn't even win a game. So if they win a game this year, hey, maybe I'll go buy a lottery ticket. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I'll get married if Kansas wins a football game.
It just seems like such a long time ago when Kansas beat Virginia Tech's rear end in the Orange Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
The Kansas-Missouri top 5 game, it was just such an odd season. Like, it was amazing. Like, watching Kansas come in and just, they were so good. I wish they had kept that trajectory. I think college football would have been better with it. I think they fired Mangino and that was it essentially. And after Mangino, they were just scrambling. They
got Les Miles because hey, here's this coach available, and there's a reason he was available. And once it came to light, they had to kick him out the door. So that was
it's a mess. Kansas is an absolute mess.
And final stats for Sam Howell. He only threw 1 touchdown, 208 yards, and 3 interceptions.
Ooh. It's brutal.
Coach Fuente's defense got him on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, upset alert talk. Who do you guys, in your own opinion, real quick, scrolling through tomorrow, any teams that you think might be on upset alert, or are we pretty solid on what we got right now?
I think you might go. It depends on how the second half goes. I'm really, really faithful that Alabama pulls away. Mm-hmm. But Derek King's no slouch, and if he makes some plays, he could make that game interesting. I don't know if I'm going to put Alabama on upset watch yet, but that's probably the game if there was an upset to be had somewhere that had got the most experienced quarterback of any team that's kind of like an underdog like that. But outside of that, I don't really see any.
One that's popping up to me is Fresno State and Oregon. I think Fresno State could pull off an upset. They play hard enough and get a few things that are rolling their way.
Right.
I'm scrolling through. I mean, there's not huge matchups besides the outside of your Alabama, Miami. I kind of want to put Alabama there, but I don't know. But the one that's kind of catching my eye And I'm just going to go out on a limb as my bold upset. Florida State over Notre Dame.
Mm.
Of course, Bobby Bowden, I guess they're paying, he, of course, passed away a few weeks
Yeah,
back.
they're gonna play for Bobby, and they're gonna probably want to play a little more intensely in honor of his legacy. So that's
I hate for them not to.
Yeah.
Lose by 70.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless.
Did you see my tweet I sent you, Michael?
This phone's been slow. Let me see. I'm not going to pronounce his name. Sounds like a goofy dance you do after one too many pina coladas.
Hey, do you guys play fantasy at all? Fantasy football?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm in 2 different leagues this year.
Yeah, I've got 2 as well. I've got a bigger money league, and then I've got one I've started. I'm the commissioner for the first time, so that should be fun. That's my work league.
No.
But I managed to get like for this year I drafted wide receiver first and second. I had the 10th pick, so it was kind of hard. But I got Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs back to back. So that's a pretty decent stack of wide receivers. Yeah, and then I got Mike Davis and DeAndre Swift. A couple guys. It was weird this year. I don't usually draft that low, but I'm sure you guys are ready for the season to start.
Yep, I've got a league I've been in for about 10 years now.
Nice.
And we use individual defensive players instead of team defense, so it makes it a little bit more challenging.
Nice.
But I've got Tony Pollard as my third running back. I've got Austin Eckler from the Chargers, and I mentioned Baker at the beginning of this podcast, and then I've got Patrick Surtain as one of my defensive players. I couldn't pass him up.
Ooh, CD's best friend from the Orange Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my family league, they're drafting on Sunday. I think Sunday I'm going to have to look. We moved the date. I'll have to look and see here. No, wrong button. No, exit that. Yeah, we draft Sunday night at 6 o'clock. And I finished in last place last year, and I've got a trophy to prove it. They call it the Horse's Ass Award.
Nice.
It's sitting on top of my living room mantle, proudly displayed. And I'm telling my cousin, who's the commissioner, I said, "You're not going to defend my title this year."
Yeah, I won second place last year in my big league, and I've only been playing. This is my 3rd year in fantasy at all. So
yeah, my friend Rod, one who got me in the other league with the individual defensive players, he won the title on sack correction in the championship game.
That's awful.
Oh yeah, because it was like percentage points, and then then he gets a message because he lost like 0.25 or something like that, and then all of a sudden he gets a message of stat correction was applied to this player. They didn't know who it was, and next thing you know, he wins by half a point. So it was like, holy cow. He felt bad for the guy he beat. He's like, it shouldn't come down to stat correction, but that's the way fantasy works. I don't know what the stat was, what got corrected, but it was just crazy.
Yeah, I got. I didn't do so well last year, but wasn't so bad. It was tough, but this year I got. Let's see, where am I at here? There I am. Real quick, Josh Allen's my quarterback. Dalvin Cook, Minnesota, Javonte Williams in Denver. My receivers: Mark Andrews, Cortland Sutton, CeeDee Lamb, Noah Fant as tight end, and then my backup is Baker to Josh. And then my final pick of the draft was Trey Sermon because I was like, why not?
Yeah, I got Trey on my bench as well.
I mean, why not?
Yeah, I've got Jameis Winston, David Montgomery, Mike Davis, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, T.J. Hawkinson, and then Robbie Anderson as a flex, and then Swift, Sermon, Curtis Samuel, and Debo Samuel on my bench. So it's not a bad team. I can trade maybe Diggs for like a big running back if I need to, but we'll see.
Oh man, no, I'm ready for it. We got a lot of football. Of course, Labor Day weekend coming up. I have to work Saturday, but hopefully Sunday, Monday, I'll get my days off. But nonetheless, it's gonna be a good one.
Right.
Going to be a good one. Real quick, let's see if Kansas has done anything. Probably not.
Probably still scoreless at halftime.
Yep.
Yep, still scoreless. 3 minutes left in the second quarter.
Wow.
Real quick before we end the show, OU Nebraska. I know we're still 2 weeks away, but any thoughts on that this could be a easy win for OU, or still should we kind of be a little concerned after the little debacle last week versus Illinois?
Oh, there's
should
no
be a
concern.
little. Well, there's no concern.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see any concern here. I think OU's going to walk away with it, but they're going to play because Nebraska's still, a halfway decent team. So if OU lets their guard down, Nebraska could pull something off. So I think we've got to keep on their toes the whole game.
I just think I don't know. They were struggling blocking Illinois, and they've got Nick Benito going to bear down on them and all that. I mean, Adrian Martinez can't set his feet and throw the ball. Like, I've never seen a guy that had a ton of potential as a freshman, and the guy's gotten worse every year. He's not progressed at all. He's going to get chased all game. I just don't see Nebraska's offense allowing them. Like, Oklahoma could step on their own toes, and I think they still win 35-7, like even making a bunch of mistakes. Because I just don't think Nebraska can make enough plays offensively. Like, Adrian Martinez can't. Like, the dude had wide open receivers running open against Illinois, and he couldn't hit him. Like that, Nebraska could win that game. I mean, you saw it, but they just couldn't do it. Like, they're just not well coached. And Oklahoma's not going to get bored against Nebraska. I really don't. And I think that's the biggest thing about Oklahoma is I think they get bored. I think they get bored, and I think they just feel like they're going to walk in and win. And I just think, Kansas State that's that kind of thing, like trying to get up and play these games that aren't Texas. That's not Iowa State in the top 5. Oklahoma State. It's Baylor in the top 10. Hell, we were getting our butts beat that year. We came back. We got lucky and came back. And I don't know. I just don't think that's going to happen against Nebraska. I think a conference opponent, yeah, definitely, just because that's our MO. I hope it's not, but it is our MO. But I don't think it's going to happen against Nebraska. There's just too much hype around the game. There's a lot of hype around it, even though it's pretty much it's going to be a snoozer.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still a lot of hype around it. So
I know one thing. If it's the way Nebraska played last week against Illinois, I think OU, like you said, it's going to be should be an easy win. I mean, the offense was flat. There's a lot of potential on both sides of the ball Nebraska had. I just thought that overall I don't know if it's the system that Scott Frost is trying to implement. Maybe it's not fitting the right kids. I don't know, but Adrian Martinez just looked horrible last week. He just looked horrible. And that running game was non-existent for Nebraska. But you got to give it to Illinois. I mean, that program's getting back on the rise again.
Yeah. I just I don't know what happened to Scott Frost. He did have a great run there at UCF. I just don't know what to make of him as a head coach. I think he's a great OC, and I think he did a lot. I mean, he was at Oregon OC, right? I mean, with when
Chip Kelly.
Chip Kelly was in Oregon. He had a great run, and he did some great things on offense. I think the guy in the right opportunity, I think he could go back and be a good OC for somebody. I really do. I think he could go back and figure some things out, kind of like do the Nick Saban coaching clinic, go to Alabama and try to figure out what he's doing wrong as a head coach. Worked for Sark. So, I mean, I guarantee you one thing. I don't know what Bryce Young's going to look like, but Bryce Young and Scott Frost's offense, that'd be fun to watch. And I think I would watch Alabama more. Sarkisian just kind of did a hybrid of what Lincoln does. Puts his fastest players out in space. That's all he did. He put Devontae Smith out in space all year last year, and you're not going to tackle him. And then Najee Harris, right? Najee Harris is a freak. He's like Derrick Henry. Like a dude he would run a 4.4 and run you over at the same time. Like he's a freak. And I don't know what's wrong with Scott Frost, but I think he'll figure it out. I think he's a smart guy. I think the best thing that could happen in that Nebraska game is for Adrian Martinez to get hit really hard by Nick Benito, and they go to another quarterback, and all of a sudden Nebraska starts lighting the world on fire. Because that's what happened with Iowa State.
Yep.
That's what happened. I mean, Iowa State's the big one I can think of when Baker was here. Because that one dude, Zeb Noland or whatever, came in the game. We didn't know who was going to play. And that guy played, and all of a sudden he lit the world on fire and beat us. But I don't know. I don't know what the answer is in Nebraska. I really don't think Nebraska's ever going to be anything again.
No.
I really don't. I think they got buried. I think going to the Big Ten was such a huge mistake. I think they lost Texas, and that's that.
No, I think back 10 years ago, I think everybody left because of Texas, and they just wanted to get out. And I think they realized that, honestly, I think A&M had a little better success since that 10-year Missouri, and Colorado hasn't been too bad. I think of the 4 teams that's left, I would say Nebraska's the worst of the 4 that has had any success, if any, since they left the Big 12.
Right.
But no, I'm definitely looking forward towards Nebraska. I don't think it's going to be much of a game, regardless of what happens from here till now. But guess we'll see. I mean, we're still 2 weeks out. Anything could happen, but nonetheless, I'm just glad college football
is back, baby.
Is back and up and running again.
Me too. It's been too long. Seeing those crowds,
way too
long. It's amazing. Like watching the Minnesota game last night. Just watching the environment was just like, man, it was special. Like, it was special. Like, it makes you really appreciate the game we love like this, and it makes you really appreciate everything about it. So.
Did you see that crowd by chance in Virginia Tech?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
electric.
God.
Sam Howell couldn't even deal with it, clearly. Dude was throwing to the wrong team the whole game. Seriously, the guy couldn't hit water if it fell out of a boat. He's supposed to be the Heisman runner-up.
Hey, some people have this team in the Final Four of the playoffs, too. I mean, it's still early. They can still get there, but that's a bad way to start the season, though, if you want to try to get there.
Yeah, it's an awful way.
But, well, we'll see. But, guys, we have college football. Tomorrow's going to be jam-packed all day. Of course, goes into Sunday with Florida State, Notre Dame, which could be interesting. May not be. I don't know. We'll find out. But let's do this thing.
Yeah, we're ready. I'm ready.
And all you guys know, let's listen out there real quick before we end the show. Kansas just scored a touchdown, so don't worry. They're waiting for you.
Right. What's the score? Is it 7-0?
It is 7-0 at halftime.
Wow. Rooting for our boys up there.
I guess picked it flown.
Covering the spread.
Somewhere, Bryce Sycamore is in that ballpark, in that stadium.
Beautiful. I'll have to do a 30 for 30 on that one day.
Oh, they're
I really do. They're going to have to do something.
They're going to do something.
Netflix or ESPN. I don't think ESPN will do it just because they messed up so bad, but I think Netflix will do it.
Fox Sports will.
Yeah, somebody's going to do it. Somebody's going to make a lot of money when they do it because it's amazing.
Yeah, it really is.
Fox Sports is going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, here's the intro. It's like, what if I told you the biggest network in sports gets duped? by an online school that does that. By an online,
Epic.
yeah, online charter school that doesn't even have an actual football team. And here's one more thing. They played, I think it was Saturday night. They had like a special like weekend game. They actually played on Friday night against the team and lost. So maybe it wasn't the players. I don't know.
Well, the fact that they're 20-something-year-old kids lost to high school kids should tell you something.
Yeah.
58-0, not even close. Lay down news was across the 50s. These are grown men. It is insane.
Do you think they actually try to lose on purpose just to avoid that potential investigation, even though they looked horrible?
I just don't understand the appeal to it. Like, why even do that?
Yeah.
Like, it was hilarious watching that quarterback. Like, he's down on the ground and his mom comes out there instead of a trainer. Like, it is just great. Like, they were using the IMG trainers or trying to use the other team's trainers. And they got his mom come out in short shorts. She's got tattoos all over her, trying to give his quarterback water. Like, it was wonderful. It really was.
Oh God. It's something you would see on a movie like Waterboy 2 or something that to the degree. Dave, and so what we're telling us is we can go out here and play for this Sycamore team.
Yeah. We can just pose as high school kids and
go get a Scully.
Go get a Scully.
That's how Brandon Whedon got his Scully. Wasn't he like 29 whenever he went to Oklahoma State?
Yeah.
There you go, Bishop Sycamore.
You don't have to play baseball, and that didn't work out. Went back to college, and was
Bishop Sycamore's MVP.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm going to tell my kids. I'm going to tell them that Brandon Whedon came from Bishop Sycamore.
Do it.
I will. He's 4. He'll believe me.
Mike Gundy may believe you. He's what, 45 now? 46?
Dude.
You
know, remember what was it, 6 years ago? Whatever it was when he had that big press conference.
It's been a minute, dude.
Yeah, I can't wait till he turns 50 and someone asks him a stupid question.
It's going to be great.
Well, he'd be like, hey, I don't know what the hell.
Wait till he's 60. OSU's not going to fire him anytime soon.
Oh, no.
That dude's going to be – that dude's like Nick Saban.
Mm-hmm.
He's just not
Nick Saban.
Nick
Probably in that case. Win or lose, he'll be the coach for life.
Yeah.
I mean, I told you, I think Mike knows about this. He signed a lifetime contract. Oklahoma State, didn't he? Who was it?
Yeah.
Was that Mike Gundy or someone else that signed it?
I think Bill Self. I know Bill Self.
Bill Self. It was Bill Self at Kansas, the basketball coach. I know somebody, one of the big coaches in college athletics, has signed a lifetime contract. So I won't be surprised if Oklahoma State does the same with Mike Gundy.
Well,
hey, Oklahoma State fans are stupid anyway. I mean, they'll buy anything OSU selling. So if Mike Gundy can fill the seats, then he'll be the coach for life.
They throw snowballs at OU in the end zone.
Yeah, they can't beat them.
Well, they ain't gonna beat them anytime soon either.
Oh, dude, I want to send you a picture. This happened about, I think, 2015 at Bedlam. When Mason Rudolph was still the quarterback. There was this guy that was riding a reindeer in the stands. It was pretty hilarious.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, yeah, I know, right? It's like something called Peter.
I read an article. I know we're just rambling, but I don't care. I read an article that Pistol Pete was voted the worst mascot in college football.
Yeah. Like, who was polling? OU fans?
Yeah, he's not that bad.
No, I'm actually going to send you a YouTube video. I found one of my good friends at church told me this. He's from Louisiana, and it was a Louisiana Monroe, which was in Northeast Louisiana. They changed names about 15 years ago. It was. They got into a fight with another mascot and ended up ripping the guy's head off.
God dang.
Wow. I'll tell you what was creepy. That Boilermaker, the pistol or the guy from Purdue. That's a creepy mascot.
Yeah, it is. You know, one of my friends from church, he's actually got an engineering degree from Purdue. He says the history of the Boilermakers came when back in the early 1900s when the football team came down with, I think it was like a plague or something like that. Maybe in the war, I don't know. And they weren't available. They needed a team of men to play. So a bunch of there was a railroad in Indiana in an area at the time. I can't remember which one it was. They got merged and all that good stuff. But a bunch of train workers came in and filled in. That's the name Boilermakers because locomotives were still steam powered back in the day. So that's where the train Boilermakers came from. Yeah, it's about 2 minutes and like it's hilarious.
I have to watch. I gotta watch this off the thing. But well, anyway, we'll end it on that. Oh my God! No, I gotta get to better. I got an early wake up call tomorrow, but oh well.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you do.
It is what it is. Gentlemen, pleasure coming on again. Of course, I'll be honest with you. We can do these Friday night previews before OU. This is kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, I'm game.
Sweet. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Air Attack podcast presented by Law Terrain Watches. Of course, grab your gear and save money. That's the best way, especially nowadays with everything that's going on. Use the code keyword AirRaid to save 10% on all orders and even get a special compass watch with the purchase within time frame. However, guys, let's enjoy this. College football is back and large crowds, full capacity. So, except for the exception of OU Tulane, but that's because of hurricane purposes. But nonetheless, let's do this thing.
Yeah, we're ready. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
As always, guys, listen to us iTunes, Google, and we will see you all same time, same place next Friday night as we recap the Oklahoma-Tulane game and, of course, preview the Oklahoma Sooners and Western Carolina. I don't know what the crap they're even called. Does anybody know by chance?
I think they're the Cougars. That's what their logo looks
Western
like.
Carolina.
I don't know. Western Carolina. I don't know.
I don't either. I'll call them the Cats. We'll call
there you go. Yeah, they're the Cats. That's what they are.
I'm actually the Cats. I was actually playing around. I didn't even.
Yeah, that's what they are. Just looked it up.
All right.
I wonder what kind of cat they are.
Yeah. There's a joke to be made, but I'm not going to make it. It's a family show.
Yeah. You good?
Yeah.
No, the Catamount.
Oh.
Catamount. Okay.
Yeah, cats for short. Because I think cats would sound a lot better than what the heck's a catamount?
I don't know what that even is.
Oh. I don't know if we get drunk and go ride a lion or something.
Oh, it's a fake bird or fake cat. All right, guys. We'll see you same time, same place. Take care. Have a great week. Enjoy some college football.